Well, hello there, Casual Gaming Geek here, and I have two very exciting packages from Best Buy. So obviously this is the Nintendo Switch 2 and Mario Kart. I know that most people already got their unboxings out earlier, but mine didn't arrive until a couple hours ago, so this is the first chance I've had to open this up. So, I'm gonna get right to it because I'm so excited. I've been waiting all day. I've been waiting all day for this, and I'm so excited. So I'm gonna start with Mario Kart because once I get to the console, I'm gonna be getting into a lot more of the setup and everything for that. So I'd rather just get Mario Kart over with now. Here we go. So let's make sure there's no identifying. Okay. And set that aside. Here we are, Mario Kart World for the Nintendo Switch 2. So I know some people don't really like the designs of the cases for this. I don't really care. I mean, it's similar enough to the original Switch case, but I don't think it's really that bad. I don't know why people have to complain about everything. So let's just open this up real quick. Take the plastic off, because, you know, I think I've said this before, but I don't go for the whole digital game thing, so I'm going to be buying all my games physical. Let's toss that over there. And here we are, Mario Kart World. Oh, we actually got inside cover art. Okay, so I don't like this. The case is red, which, you know, I get. They're going with the whole red theme carrying on from the Switch, and they've gone all out and made actual red cases. But you can't actually see the inside artwork with the red case. It's all tinted red. So let's pull this out real quick and take a look at it. That's pretty nice. It showcases some of the characters and, you know, some of the. I guess these are like bumper stickers you can get basically as you're taking your world tour. So that's nice. I do like that. But I don't like that the case is red so you can't actually see it when you just open the case. That is actually a really stupid design by Nintendo. I don't know what they were thinking with that. That is horrible. Let's get that back in there. More or less. And the cartridge itself, which, so, do I have a Switch? Actually, I do have a Switch 1 cartridge here. Let's just make sure this isn't running. I was playing. Okay, so I have here, granted it's a European cartridge, but you'll get the idea. So I got Octopath Traveler here, Switch 1 cartridge versus a Switch 2 cartridge. So they are the same size. Okay, so I was going to say it looks like the little 2 logo, the Switch 2 logo is taller, which it is. But it doesn't actually take up any more space on the picture because they actually it looks like they extended it up a tiny bit more. Hang on, I gotta get a closer look at this. No, it does. Oh, no, that's just how I was holding it. It does extend it down a little bit, so there is a little bit less room for cartridge artwork here, but that's not really terrible. I mean, who spends time looking at the cartridge artwork for Switch games? But looking at it, it looks like it's basically exactly the same as the cover art on the case. Yeah, it is the exact same image, so that's that. So, there is Mario Kart World. Let's put this back. Alright. So there's Mario Kart World. I'm very excited for this. I love Mario Kart. I actually just recently got myself finally got a physical copy of Super Mario Kart. I never had it physically before. So I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart in preparation for this, and I will be reviewing this next. You know, that'll be the next video on my channel. I don't know how long it's going to take me to actually make that video. And if you're looking forward to seeing me review this game, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss when that review goes out. So let's put that there and get on to the main attraction, the actual Switch 2 console. I am so excited for this. I've been looking forward to this all day. And I hate this style box. I have such a hard time opening these boxes. Okay, I can get it out like this. And there we go. Let's toss that out. Nintendo Switch 2. I love that the box is actually square. It's weird. This is deformed a little bit. Looks like it must be pretty packed in there. All right, so this is very reminiscent of the original Switch 1 box. Actually, I will get that off of my stack here. So here is the Switch 1 box. Now, I don't actually have the launch edition. I have the revision. I don't remember what the revision was called, but my first Switch was this revision that has basically the same red box. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fit this all in camera at once. So I'm gonna scooch that up there, and if this isn't in camera, I apologize. I'll put pictures up on the screen if it's not in camera. So it's basically the same look at the box. It's the same finish. It's the exact same texture and everything, and exact same color scheme as this box, which I like. It's basically the same image on the TV behind it, which it's weird though that they did change that a little bit. I don't see why they would, but they did. And interestingly, they put the Joy-Cons like completely covering the front of the dock. They don't even show the front of the dock on the box, which is kind of weird. Here they showed the whole dock and the Joy-Cons. Here they're just showing the Joy-Cons. Now, obviously that's because they wanted to make the box smaller. Instead of having it be this long, they're having it be square. But I guess that's probably also partly because the Joy-Cons are completely redesigned from these, and hopefully they're better. Hopefully they have less drift issues. We will see. And hopefully the gyro works better, because the gyro does not work well with the original Joy-Cons. I complained about that in my Skyward Sword review. Let's stick that back up there. So yeah, so looking at the box, you got this basically the same type of image on the front. It's a little damaged, I don't like that. So on the side here, we got some people playing in tabletop mode with the Joy-Cons horizontally. You can see the newly designed kickstand here, which I have some mixed feelings about. I will get to that in a bit. On the other side, we have somebody playing in handheld mode outside, enjoying nice weather, but the screen is black. They don't actually show a game there for some reason. I don't get why. And here's somebody putting it into the dock. That is a nice image. I like that image. All right. So yeah, that is the box. It is beautiful. I love it. And it's time to open this. Oh man, I'm so excited. This is the first time I've actually bought a console at launch. My Switch 1 I didn't buy until, when was that? 2018 or 2019. Like, I did not buy it at launch. Yeah, this would have been the first console we bought at launch. I think we got our Wii, me and my brothers, I think we got our Wii in 2006, so that would have been a launch edition. But this is the first one I got. This is launch day, and I am opening it up. It's very exciting. Okay, here we go. Da 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 da. There it is, with some cardboard debris. All right, so let's brush this debris off. So luckily, I got from Best Buy, not from that GameStop where I saw people were getting staples in their screens from one GameStop store. That's horrible. So slide the console out. Ooh, that is pretty. So, all right. So now I saw people freaking out. It was like, oh, Nintendo's warning people not to pull their screen film off, or whatever. I don't even see a screen film. Like, I'm looking at this, and it doesn't look like there's a film, so I don't know why Nintendo issued that warning. There are fingerprints on it. I'm gonna have to clean it up. But fingerprints from when it was being packed up at the factory. So, let's compare this just to the previous one. So I'll compare it to my OLED. Let's take the Joy-Cons off just for a more fair comparison. Set this box aside for now. We'll get to the Joy-Cons in a minute. So here is my OLED Switch, and here is the Switch 2. That is significantly bigger. It is definitely a lot bigger in both dimensions. I mean, you can get these out of the way. I mean, you can see that is a lot bigger than the original one. Or actually, here, let's get my original one. It's been a while since I've compared the original and the OLED. so here's my original Switch and my OLED. So yeah, they're, about the same size. The OLED is slightly bigger. And this thing just completely dwarfs both of them. All right, so let's set these aside for a moment. All right, so looking at the rest of the console, ignoring there's a lot of dust and debris from the factory on it. So we'll start on the top here. So we got our power buttons and power and volume buttons, which are exactly the same as on the original Switch. What is this? I don't know. I don't think that's a button. I don't know what that is. It looks like it must just be a cover for, I would assume it's a cover for a screw or something. However, it is opposite of the headphone jack, so I don't know if maybe there was some sort of weird thing when they were designing the shell that they were going to have the headphone jack over here, maybe? That's my only guess. Then we got our exhaust fans, which are actually a lot bigger than at least the OLED. Oh, actually, that little dot is there too. So the exhaust fans are a lot bigger, and there's a lot less plastic blocking it so that you can have a lot more airflow. So this thing was clearly designed to throw out a lot of heat and keep itself cool, which is nice. And we know that there is a fan built into the dock, so obviously Nintendo's expecting this thing to throw out quite a bit of heat. And then we have here the second USB-C port, which is going to be used for if you're charging in tabletop mode, or if you are playing with the camera. And I'm sure Nintendo, being Nintendo, are going to come out with other accessories that use that later on, but for now, the camera is all we know that they're going to use it for. So we got our headphone jack here, and then our game card slot, which, ooh, I like that. Comes out a lot higher than this one. And it's interesting. It's got like a metal reinforcement in the actual slot cover, which is not, I don't think there's something like that on this, is there? No, so this, it doesn't slide up nearly as high, and it's just plastic. Whereas here, it slides up a lot higher, and it's got this metal cover here, which I wonder why they did that. I mean, maybe it's just to make sure that people actually line it up before sliding it down, or I'm wondering if they figured that the game cards need more support for some reason. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see if people have figured that out online. And then, finishing up our tour at the top of the console, we have the microphone, which I will probably almost never use, because I personally don't think I'm ever really going to use the game chat. I don't have anyone that I would use the game chat with other than a couple of cousins who I probably wouldn't be able to play with much because they're very busy, much more busy than me. So I don't know if I'll be able to really test that much, see how well it works. I guess at some point I'll have to, but for now, I'm not really going to be testing that. All right, so going to the bottom of the console, we have two air vents here. Well, I assume, are these air vents or the speakers? I guess these are those must be air vents, I guess, air intakes. Because I think these are the speakers on either side here. I don't know. And then the main USB-C port for charging in the dock, or if you just want, you can plug it in and charge there if you're not playing in tabletop mode. And you got rubber grippy feet on the bottom, which are kind of nice. Which actually, yeah, there are rubber grippy feet on my OLED, and there were not on the original. So that's actually something I didn't even take note of when I got my OLED, that there are rubber grippy feet on the bottom for when you're playing in tabletop mode. But there are not rubber grippy feet on the bottom of the original Switch, which I did not take note of when I got my OLED. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, I like that. Obviously you need it. Just, it's good to have. Okay, now we get to the kickstand, which I don't like the redesign of the kickstand. So it's designed that it just comes out, it's this single bar, and I mean, it does its job. You have quite a, wow, you can angle that a lot. I do like that. I do like how much you can angle that. But like, I mean, you could angle the at least the OLED kickstand, you could do basically the same thing. Like, the kickstand is very much like the OLED, but this is a whole big solid piece, which I like. It's nice, it's sturdy, there's no chance of that breaking. I have a feeling that this is going to be a failure point on these consoles. Granted, this, I mean, it feels pretty sturdy, but being such a thin piece of, I can't even tell if this is, you know, just some sort of lightweight metal. I guess it is. I guess it's a lightweight metal, but whatever it is, it's very thin. I have a feeling this is going to be a failure point of the system, and when they inevitably come out with an OLED model, I have a feeling this is going to be filled in. Basically, the U section will be just a solid piece like the original Switch OLED model. All right, and then on the left and right, we have the Joy-Con connection ports. They're not slots. You can't slide down. It clicks in. You got your minus and your plus. And I do wish they kept the design of sliding down. I liked it. It's very satisfying to slide Joy-Cons on and off of an original Switch. I mean, like it's such a satisfying click. I don't know. I like it. I wish they'd kept it. But that's that. Okay. So, that is the console itself. I will put this aside for now, and we will come back to our box where we have Joy-Cons. So, here is the left Joy-Con and the right Joy-Con. I guess I should have picked those up with the other hands. So, all right, these new Joy-Cons. So the sticks to me, here, let's get my original Joy-Cons. So the sticks definitely feel a lot smoother. I mean, I can feel every little bump and indentation circling my original Joy-Con stick. This one, it feels nice and smooth. It is a very clean circular motion. Size-wise, it is definitely a lot bigger, but the spacing between the thumbstick and these buttons is basically the same. Now the buttons, yes, buttons are bigger and slightly more spread out, and you know, that is nice. But my biggest issue, besides just how small these are, is how cramped the thumbstick and the buttons are. Now, granted, I almost never play in, you know, horizontal mode like this, but this, it does not feel much better. Like, they're still very cramped. Like, look, my thumbs are touching here. Like, there's a lot of unused real estate on this Joy-Con. They could have moved these buttons down a little bit. Yes, it might have made pressing the capture button slightly awkward if they moved that much far down, but it's still so cramped. Nintendo, why don't you learn? All right, fine. Whatever, ignoring the crampedness. Besides that, yeah, it's definitely a lot bigger. It feels like it has quite a bit more heft to it. The plastic, now granted, this isn't a fair comparison since these I've put so many hours onto. But the plastic, it feels a much, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a much less smooth, much more, it's a more matte feel, whereas this feels a bit more glossy, it feels like. Now, granted, again, I put so many hours onto these, I probably wore the plastic down over time. So it's probably not a very fair comparison. Moving on to the top here, got the shoulder buttons, which I will give Nintendo are way better. They actually feel like buttons instead of an accident. Because yeah, I hate the shoulder buttons on this, and you know, these you had to use the slide-on wrist strap thing to be able to actually use the buttons. These, I feel like that you probably don't have to use the wrist strap function to be able to comfortably use these buttons. I like that. That is nice. We got our sync button here. I guess these are part of the, oh, actually, that's part of the disconnect for the magnets. We push the button and it pops it out. And we got the sensor for the mouse, which, because again, that's the big gimmick with these is that you can use them as mice, which I like, and I'm putting this out. I actually really like the idea of the mouse mode, and I'm putting this out here now that I think Nintendo is probably going to take advantage of that, to use that as a way to port DS games that relied heavily on the touchscreen to the system, because instead of just using the touchscreen like in Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks, you use the touchscreen, you can use the mouse mode, and it'll probably translate very well. It's probably the best way Nintendo's going to have to port the DS games to a home console, since they don't do the DS line anymore. I'm really hoping that we get Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. So if we do, I called it. I claim credit for all eternity if we do get Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks on the Nintendo Switch 2. But yeah, so that's about it. And again, the two Joy-Cons, they're basically the same, again, like mirrored like the original Joy-Cons, the one addition being the chat button on the right Joy-Con, which again, I probably will never use, so I don't really care about it. But it's there if you're going to use it. And looking quickly at the back, I do like that the ZL and ZR buttons are much more substantial than this, than on the original one. Like the original, they were tiny, which is just because these Joy-Cons were tiny. I like that it feels like a much more substantial button here, and you got the regular L and R, which they're also a lot longer, but they're not that, they don't feel that much more substantial compared to ZL and ZR, at least to me. All right. So, now, here is the big test. How do these attach? So, you just slot them in. Oh, that is much more, that's much more connected than I thought it was going to be. I thought that was going to be actually really okay, I am putting quite a bit of pressure and I can't separate those. So now, to separate them, you just push the button and pulls out. Okay, and you know what? This right here makes me feel a whole lot better about the whole thing. So, one of my big concerns when they showed off the magnetically attached Joy-Cons is I felt like it would probably be too easy if you're playing in handheld mode to accidentally bump the buttons and have your Joy-Con fall off and you'll drop your Switch. That is definitely not going to be the case. This thing actually takes quite a bit of effort, quite a bit of force to press the button to release the Joy-Con. So I don't think people are likely going to accidentally, playing in handheld mode, do that. That makes me feel a whole lot better. Because yeah, I was definitely thinking that was going to be an issue. It is definitely not. Nintendo definitely thought that through. Now, after experiencing it, I have to say, that has changed my mind. I like the magnetically attached Joy-Cons. It's still not nearly as satisfying as connecting and disconnecting original Joy-Cons that slide on and off. I still prefer that, but these are a lot better than I was afraid they were going to be, so alright, I'll give Nintendo that. These are very nice. Okay, so let's set that up there. Alright, back to our box. Now that we got through the actual console, we got a few more goodies to get through, so let's lift off this section, which is pretty chunky. There's something else in this section. What is this? There's something under this. What do we got here? So, health and safety information. Don't need that. An HDMI cable. I got a million of those, but nice to have another one. And we got the... Okay, so these are... Oh, interesting. Okay, so these are the covers and the wrist straps for the Joy-Con 2s. I should have gotten... Hang on. Let me see if I can find some of my Joy-Con 1 straps. There's some. Alright, so here's one of the straps for the Joy-Con 1. So I'm going to move this aside. So these, they slide on just like that. Now granted, this is obviously the Skyward Sword one, but it'll work. You got your wrist strap here that you can slide, and you have your much better, much more usable shoulder buttons, which is the main reason that I would ever use these, is for the shoulder buttons. I used the wrist strap playing Skyward Sword, but other than that, I basically just do it like this. And it was great. It's a wonderful thing, wonderful feature. Nintendo did a good job. However, looking at this. So, this is the wrist strap for the Joy-Con 2. Notice something missing. Hang on. Here. Notice something missing? Yeah, there's no shoulder buttons on the wrist strap. I understand why. I completely understand why. But that is bizarre. So I guess these attach like that. Okay, so they do attach, I guess, somewhat magnetically. What is this? There's a little button here. Oh, that's what actually locks it in place. No, it's a clip. It's a clip that locks it in place. That's also released. It's just released when you force it off with the button. They don't have the shoulder buttons here, which must be why they made them much more substantial, because this is meant basically for using as a mouse. This is the base of the mouse. So they don't want you just running it, you know, willy-nilly like that. They want you to have the mouse attachment. So this is the wrist strap, obviously, but I think its main purpose is actually just being for the bottom of the mouse. So because of that, there's no shoulder buttons. Now, I guess that's less of a it's not really that big of a concern, since the shoulder buttons are a lot better, and I'm sure the shoulder buttons being so big was intentional because the wrist strap doesn't have them built in like it did for the original Switch. But I don't know. It's a little weird. It's going to take some getting used to. It's not the most comfortable. I will say, this is not the most comfortable to use like this. It's kind of sharp. You know, the original one, it had these nice rounded edges, and it felt really comfortable to use. Granted, as comfortable as it can be, being a Joy-Con and being so small. This just feels awful. It's so, like, the corners are so sharp and abrupt. I hate that. I actually hate these. I really think Nintendo could have thought that through better, and chances are, if not Nintendo, someone else will probably release something that's more like this, but that attaches to these. Granted, it probably won't allow you to use mouse mode, but you should then be able to use your shoulder buttons more comfortably, since most of the time if you're using the wrist strap functionality, you're not going to be using the mouse. So that's kind of, it's a weird decision on Nintendo's parts to design them like this. They should have included, I think, two different ones. One that is one that is this, and one that has nice rounded corners and shoulder buttons. But we'll see. If not Nintendo, I'm sure somebody will, at some points, come out with those. So there's the left one, and here is the right one. So I will probably use these more than the Switch 1 wrist straps, just based on the fact that these are meant for mouse mode, so I will probably end up using them more, but we'll see. Okay, so that is the end of the top tray, and now we get to the bottom tray, which has some other goodies. So we'll start here. This is obviously the Joy-Con 2 grip. So was it like the, I didn't think to grab the grip from my Joy-Con 1s, but your Joy-Con 2s simply snap into here. It does have little fake dummy plugs, so there's no contacts on these. This does not have any sort of power or anything, just like the original ones. That's just, I guess they're just as a dust protector. It works basically exactly the same way as the Switch 1. It works basically exactly the same way as the Switch 1 controller. I realize I'm probably not very much on screen here. Oh no, I am. Yeah, works the same way, except it's now magnetic. You don't slide it on. That's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to go over that anymore. Just going to shove that off into the corner and move on. Let's see, we have a USB-C cable, so it's USB-C on both ends there. And that is because the power brick is just a power brick. It is not actually, so the Switch 1, it was wired, so it was just a power brick with a hard wire in it. This is a USB-C wall wart. Let's see, what's the output on this thing? So it outputs 5, 9, 15, and 20 volts at 3 amps. So that's quite a lot of power. So yeah, this is a 15, 27, 45, and 60 watt adapter. It's pretty chunky. It is dense. Like, this is probably about half the weight of the box right here is this adapter. This is a dense power brick. I like that. It feels substantial. It feels a lot more substantial than like the one that came with the Super Nintendo Mini. And then we get to the dock. Let's get this out of here and get the box out of my way. So here is our new dock. Okay, so they're sticking with the rounded theme, and everything is overall a lot more rounded. The Joy-Cons, you can tell, are a lot more, the curve on the corners is a lot more gradual than Joy-Con ones. And they're sticking with the whole rounded theme here. The back it's a nice curved back as opposed to sharp hard corner, which I really like. You got your 2 USB ports here. Let's see, on the bottom you got, I guess this is meant as an air intake. That's when you got your rubber feet here. You shouldn't put this on carpet. Don't do that. If anyone's dumb enough to put it on carpet and it dies, that's on you. Now, how does this open? How am I going to open this? Opens from the top. There it is. Okay, so, like the OLED dock, it is a separate piece. I actually prefer that. I think it's easier to work with the wires and stuff when it's a separate piece instead of having to fight with the hinged one from the original Switch dock. So then we have our AC adapter input, HDMI output, and there is a built-in Ethernet port, which is great. I use that all the time on my OLED dock. It is fantastic. It is one of my favorite features of the Switch, having the Ethernet there. Because, let's see, I don't think the Wii had, and I didn't grow up with a Wii U, so it is nice to have that there. Let's see, and then we just stick that back on. And then, let's stick her in the dock, see how she looks. And there we go. So there is the console all put together in the dock. It's a nice look. It's pretty chunky. It's pretty big. Here, let's compare it. I didn't actually realize I didn't compare with Joy-Cons compared to an OLED Switch. And it is chunky. It is big. I mean, you can see that is a big size upgrade. It looks like basically the size of the screen. Like, I can see where the edges of the actual screen are. It's like here and here. The size of the screen looks like it's basically the size of the entire OLED Switch, which is pretty big. I like that. You know, it's not that much. The actual screen real estate doesn't look like it's that much bigger than the OLED Switch real estate because this had very small borders around the screen, but still, it is very nice. Okay, so I'm going to set this up on my computer, and I'm going to actually walk through the setup process on camera if it's interesting. If not, we'll just cut back to sitting here, okay? All right, so I'm here. I got the dock set up, plugged into my capture card. Now, I'm hoping this is going to work properly right out of the box with my capture card. I have no way of capturing 4K. I don't even have a 4K TV. Well, the family room is a 4K TV. All other TVs are just 1080p. And my monitor is only 1080p, so I'm not going to be doing any 4K stuff. If this doesn't work, capturing 1080p before getting everything set up, I'll have to do it. I'll just have to do it in handheld mode, and I'll give you an overview of how it went afterwards. So, let's start. Well, I guess I should have the Joy-Cons connected for starting. Okay, so I'm going to stick it in the dock. Okay, I saw a power light go on the dock there. I am recording. Okay, good. Let's just... Okay, so there's power lights on the dock. So I guess the thing turned on. Nope. It did it not? No, it didn't. Okay. I'm going to press the power button, and hopefully it actually comes through with my capture card. Ooh, it doesn't like something. Ah! Oh. It wants me to do that out of the dock. Okay. That's interesting. Up, and the TV turned on. Okay. Alright, fine, I'll do it out of the dock. Well, I just realized that I had no microphone selected here, but I got my camera set up because it wouldn't let me do this while it was docked. So we went through, we did our setup, and it is now downloading the update data. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi is pretty terrible down where I am. It is about as far from our Wi-Fi access point as it can be. So this download is taking a few minutes. I could have tried putting it in the dock, which is on Ethernet, but chances are that probably wouldn't have worked because it specifically told me to take it out of the dock to do the setup. So we have about a minute left for downloading the update. Hopefully, the actual update probably won't take that long, I would assume, and then we will continue. Hopefully, then I can dock it and I can go back to just regular capture instead of this. But yeah, I realized I was recording like this and I had forgotten to add my microphone to this scene in OBS. That has been fixed now, so let's continue. Okay, so it is now updating. If the camera will focus. There, it kind of focused, and then it rebooted. Okay. So, hopefully now I can actually put it in the dock. If I can, I will switch to that view. If not, we will just stick it like this in this awkward view. It's taking its sweet time rebooting. System update complete. I can do the system transfer later, I would assume. Oh. You know what? No, I will do the system transfer from my OLED switch. So let me go get that. Here's some space here. So I got my OLED switch here, which is what I've been using. So let's start the system transfer. Hopefully this doesn't take that long. We will see. Oh, I don't think the one I have in here is a microSD Express. So we'll shut this down real quick. I don't know if I can I could probably eject it and it's on, but just better be safe than sorry. So I don't think this is a microSD Express that I have in here. It's been a while since I've checked. Let's see, microSD HC. So no, this is not a microSD Express, so I can't use that for now. So let's just turn that back on. Skip, since I don't have that. Sign into a Nintendo account. Okay, I have no idea what my Nintendo account password is. Okay, so it's signed into my Nintendo account. So, move this system and source system close together. Okay. Connect an AC adapter. Alright, well, that is slightly weird, but whatever. I guess it doesn't want to run out of power mid-transfer. I will connect the AC adapter. Move the system and source system close. They are close. Okay, I guess I got to go to on the source. Open the home menu, then select system settings, then system transfer, system transfer to Nintendo Switch 2. Perfect. Alright, so continue the setup process until you see that. Okay, next. Are you kidding me? Fine, update. Alright, now I gotta update this switch, which I thought this one was already up to date, but okay, there it goes. Sorry about the light glare, there's not really much I can do about that. Okay. System transfer. Next. Okay. Done. They are nearby. Yes, okay, whatever. Users who have not linked a Nintendo account. This is my second account. Users linked without removing. Okay, so it will not remove my... So I have two users on this account, my main one, and I have this one that's called second. So this one is going to be removed from my Nintendo Switch OLED when it transfers to the Nintendo Switch 2, which is fine. I don't really care. But my main account that is signed in on this Switch will stay here. Okay, fine. All right, so I will hit next. Other save data. Okay, so the Princess Peach Showtime demo save data will be removed from this. I don't care. I need another AC adapter. All right, give me a second. I got another. Yeah. Luckily, I have a Switch 1 dock here. Right. Let's see if I can make this AC adapter cable reach. No. Okay. Not quite. All right. Give me a second. This is quite honestly one of the most awkward processes I've ever done. But I guess it doesn't want to corrupt your data by running out of power. So there, it is plugged in. Searching for Nintendo Switch 2 system. Okay? So, I'm connecting. It connected. It has detected them both, and I now start download. Now, I might have been able to do this docked, but for now, it's easier to do it like this since I don't really have a second screen set up here that I'd be able to see both of them. So, let's see. System will restart during this process. That's nice. Or nice to know, so I'm not going to freak out. So it is saying calculating time left, but it is not giving me an estimate. I don't have a whole lot of data. I don't really have a lot of downloaded games. I think the only downloaded software I have other than the Princess Peach Showtime demo, I believe the only downloaded games I have here are the Nintendo Switch Online things like the NES, the SNES, etc. Okay, so 4 minutes. I do have a fair amount of save data, but I don't have downloaded games that need to be transferred over for the most part. So that's good. If you have a lot of downloaded games or a lot more data than like what I have, it will probably take longer. Then again, a lot of that probably stored on the SD card, and if it was microSD Express in this, you could then just move it over, I would think. Well, we'll see. Got a few more minutes here. It seems to be kind of stuck here. It still says 97%. It said 97% and 2 minutes remaining for a while now. Maybe these need to be a little closer together. Can't get much closer than this, so. And yeah, again, I would assume having to connect the AC adapters is just to make sure it doesn't kill the battery and then corrupt your data mid-transfer, because that would probably leave people upset. System is about to reset. Okay. So it's restarting. It's good that it gave me the alert that it was doing that, because I probably would have freaked out if I didn't see that and didn't know that it was going to reset. So if you're doing the system transfer, just be aware that it will do that. Don't be alarmed. And now it's still downloading. So it's interesting. So it still says 97% here. You can't really see it on the camera. Sorry about that. I can't do much about it right now. But it was at 97% for a couple minutes, and then it reset and was still at 97%. It's now moved up to 98, so that's about, I guess, about where it'll do your reboot. We're up to 99%. Okay, please wait until the process is complete on Nintendo Switch 2. Okay, so I guess this is done on this one. It's now, I guess, we copied all the data over, and it's now, I guess, putting it where it belongs on the hard drive for this. I guess I can technically hit OK on this. Right? Well, that didn't complain, so I guess that's fine. Interestingly, this does not say it's plugged in. That's interesting. I guess just because the battery is fully charged. Yeah, it's at 100%. Okay. Okay, so this is now done. Oh. Okay. So now it's going to copy. So I have pictures and videos and stuff on this micro SD card. It's going to copy them from this SD card on this switch to the internal storage on this switch. That is great because I have a lot of, actually I've got quite a few things that I really did want to save on this. So I'm glad it's going to copy them over. That is nice to know. Have the micro SD on. Oh, you have to. Nintendo are liars. So this is not a microSD Express card in this Switch, but it's now telling me to put that card, and it knows it because it showed it on the screen that it was not an Express. It's telling me to put it in that Switch. So Nintendo are liars. This thing can read non-Express microSD cards. So Nintendo should specify that you need the Express for game data. If you're just using it for... Oh, is this thing... It's stuck. There we go. It seems that if you're just using it for pictures and video, it should be fine then. So, Nintendo, you're a bunch of liars. So, insert it. I will insert. Okay, micro SD card has been inserted. Start copying. Alright, so it's copying that. So that is interesting, and I wonder if Nintendo might do some sort of update later on that will allow you to use older micro SD cards if you're just going to use for screenshots and video, but require the Express for games, because clearly it can read the older non-Express micro SD cards because it is copying my pictures over. I would like them to do that because I am not going to spend the money on a new micro SD card when I have a perfectly fine one here, and I don't download games. I don't care about the extra speed for the games. So Nintendo, if you're somehow listening to this, do that as a system update. Allow us to use the older micro SD cards just for screenshots and videos, and say that we can't download games, can't use them for storing games. That would be fine. I'd be okay with that. So please, Nintendo, if you're watching somehow, do that. Remove the micro SD card. Micro SD card has been removed. Okay, good. What else do we got? Okay, now I got to restart the system. And in theory, I would assume that's all of the setup that needs to happen, since most of my setup happened by transferring my data from my older Switch, which I'm gonna have to look into like how you use this and keep your data synchronized. I don't actually know how all that works. System transfer complete. So theme color from your source system will be carried over. To go to the home menu, press the home button. And great. So I got both my accounts. Ooh, that is a fancy menu. And it's downloading some updates for my games. That's fine. Okay, so I can now switch this back over to doing regular capture just to look at the system. So I will do that. I will be right back. All right, hi, I'm back. Camera's adjusted well enough. And we are now going to put the system in the dock, because I should be able to actually just record the footage like this. Okay, great. So, and there it is. Great. So, let's grab our Joy-Cons here so we can actually do this, and let's take a quick look around the system. So, I'm going to assume this is going to basically be like the recent update, because the main Switch updated to have the mini bar look much more like this. But first thing I'm noticing is there is here. Can I actually? No, you can't see my mouse cursor. There is actually a border, like the border around everything. There's like colored lines going around it, which I kind of like. That's kind of neat. Kind of pointless, but it's neat. Now, hang on. I gotta load up my older Switch now, because I want to see the icons. They're very curvy. I like them, but I don't know. I don't remember how that compares to my OLED Switch here. Okay, yeah, I thought so. So, let's see. On the older Switch, you can see the icons have nice. They're square corners, nice sharp square corners. But that is definitely not the case here. Here, the corners are very round. It gives a very modern look. It looks like, like what they did with Windows 11. It is the way that everything is going with technology. I don't mind it. It's all right. So it's updating a whole bunch of my games. Oh, hang on. I don't hear things because I don't have headphones on. Hang on. I gotta hear things. Let's see what our sounds sound like. I don't hear anything still. Hang on. My headphones muted? Alright, there we go. Now I can hear things. The sounds are they're very similar. It's not quite as it's not quite as sharp of a sound as the original Switch. It's very pleasant sound. Let's take a look at our settings real quick. System settings. So I'm gonna first off, Bluetooth audio. Was that on the older Switch? Oh, it was. Okay, didn't know that. Let's see. I'm going to first go to display. So HDR we'll leave on for the system screen. TV resolution. So it's set to automatic. I'm gonna leave it there because so it's it's detecting I can do 720p and 1080p. I don't have 4K available for my capture card or my monitor here. I'm going to leave it on automatic so that if I bring it up to the family room TV, that is 4K, so I can get my 4K output there. RGB output full range, I will just leave that. Dock output information. So this tells you what it's currently outputting, which is good. Alright, screen and burn in reduction. I guess I'll leave that on. Match TV power state, leave that off all the time. So outputs video at 120 Hz when supported by both TV and software. Alright, fine. Auto low latency mode changes TV. Oh, that's nice that it automatically changes TVs to game mode. Good. HDR output for all software. Adjust HDR. Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna have to look at my capture and see if I can actually capture HDR. I don't think I can, but that's fine. Let's see. Me. Did I have a me on this? No, I never actually made a me. Amiibo, themes, still 2 themes. Hopefully Nintendo's going to actually give us more themes with this system, since they never actually did with the original Switch. That was a big letdown. Let's see. I'm going to assume this is all good. Manually unlock after sleep mode. System, blah, 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 blah. System battery percentage. I do want to see that. Start charging around. So stop charging around 90%. I'm going to actually turn that on. It will preserve the battery life. I know some people don't like that feature, but it's, I think, worth doing. Software auto updates, blah, blah, blah. And I don't really care about the rest of this for now. Ooh, that was a fun sound. That's a fun sound. I like that. All right. So you got your virtual game cards menu, which I don't know if I would actually have any. Okay, Tunic is here, but I don't know why. I do have Tunic physically now. I originally downloaded it, so okay. Let's see. Controllers. So these are showing as fully charged. The system is not fully charged. Actually, what's the percentage? 76%. That's fine. So how to use the GLGR buttons. I don't have a Switch 2 Pro controller. I did not get one. I probably will. How to use mouse controls. All right, let's take a look at this. Try it out. Select next and follow on-screen guides. Okay, we'll go next. Make the controller easier. So let's do that. Okay, so here, let's actually use it on a mouse pad. All right. Well, I mean, that is a mouse. Oh, interesting. Interesting. You actually use the stick. Intriguing. I like that. That's a neat feature. All right, cool. Next. Yeah, you can use that in compatible. Oh yeah, I like that. That's cool. It is, the DPI seems a bit off compared to what I'm used to, but that's fine. All right, that's kind of nice that it has a walkthrough on how to use the mouse mode. Now, in theory, if I just, yep, now that's it. So let's see, what happens if I put my fingers over the mouse sensor? Okay, see, it's not sensing that as being, yeah. So you can trick it by putting your finger over it to make it think it's in mouse mode. And if you're using both, so it kind of does freak out if you try using both, because it's a single cursor controlled by both Joy-Cons. So that's a little weird, but not a problem. Don't really care about game share. Album, so it should have all my pictures and stuff. Yeah, it does. It has all my pictures and video. What is this? All right, these guys are cute. Let's see. Let's play the Little Super Mario Brothers. So we're gonna see how this feels to play. Let's see. Where is Super Mario Brothers? Yep, I mean, it's Super Mario Brothers, and this runs just as well as it did on the original Switch, so I like that. That's good. Alright. Alright, so now, what happens if I press the C button? Who will be using Game Chat? Casual Gaming Geek will use the Game Chat, so let's take a look at this. Okay, I don't want to go through a setup for that. Okay, so that's going to be all I do on the setup for now. All right, so this is obviously the Nintendo Switch 2. I still have my doubts about the system. I had my doubts about it back when it was first announced, and just the whole, the naming system and how similar it is to the original Switch. The entire time I've been afraid that it's going to turn out to be like the Wii U, and I don't want that. I want Nintendo to succeed. I love Nintendo. I think they're great. They make great games, and the Switch one was just such a fantastic system. So yeah, I mean, the Switch one, it was being as good of a system as it was. I really hope the Switch 2 succeeds. I really hope it does well. But yeah, so that's going to be it for now. So I'm going to try and get this video out as soon as I can, and then basically immediately after that, I plan on starting to play and work on reviewing Mario Kart World. So keep an eye out for that video, and until next time, so long.